Hey everyone, welcome to this episode where we're going to be talking about leadership and how to be a better leader. And my experience of how we evolved my clinic from a small, pretty much closet in a personal training studio to now having 4 clinics and where we are now in Wellness Central, a wellness spa. So we'll dive into that, and really it all stems from leadership. But before we go into that, if you get any value from the show, please like, share, comment, follow. Our goal really is to deliver value for anyone who is in a small service-based company or is looking to start a small service-based business. It is a struggle out there, and I want to give as much knowledge as I have to you and much experience. I've learned through experience. I've had multiple coaches and multiple people, multiple mentors, and I want to just help deliver that value to you. So if you get any value, please share it, like it, give us a follow. Let me know that we're doing this for a reason. Small business is everything. It's the backbone of this country. We need more small business owners. And I hope this stimulates a fire in somebody out there to get going and create a small business. So let's talk about leadership. We'll start firstly with, I really think if you own any small business, leadership is the answer. Developing as a leader, learning about leadership, and implementing strategies and tactics of leadership is going to help get you from point A to point B. I would not be where I am now with 4 clinics if I wasn't committed to leadership. One thing this year in 2023, a goal of mine was really to say, damn, I got to be a better leader, because I've realized that I'm like what they call a true visionary, right? So I just think of something and I'm like, oh, let's do it. But not realizing the ripple effect that takes on everyone that's underneath you. Now I have a company of 20-something people, so every single decision I make is going to affect them. So the way you lead is really crucial to the success of your business. We'll start there. When I committed to kind of diving into leadership, a big reason why was, one, I knew the issues with my company stem from me. Taking full ownership of everything that's going on stems from me. So what do you have to do as the top of your company or the top of your business or the business owner? You have to develop yourself. And if you want to make a bigger impact, whether you have clients, whether you have employees, you have to develop them. What is that? That is leadership, period. That's the biggest aspect of it. So what I remember when I first started my company with no employees, who was I leading? I was leading myself. In that moment too, I remember I specifically went through a breakup, so I was in a low place. And I had to kind of crawl out of that hole. And the only way I did that was to realize that the more I put into myself, the better my business was getting. So I started with 0 employees. Again, rented like a shoebox space in a personal training studio with a dude who had pictures of himself all around. Literally, this is it's kind of comical, right? Like I had a table in the corner of a room with this dude's painted portraits of himself looking down at the table, and it's ridiculous, but it's the truth of it. You got to start from somewhere. So I built that up, and we moved to our first place in 6 months. And I had to hire my first employee. So what the fuck do I know at that point? Just like, all right, yeah, they look good. I'll hire them. I brought on someone who's still a friend of mine to this day. Tyler, if you're watching, you were the first, and we're buddies, so thank you. So we grew that. I started to grow that. Hired another employee. I think I had 3 employees, right? And at which point I'm like, okay, this thing can go one of 2 ways. I can keep it small, just make some money and just survive and keep it very basic, or I could scale this, and I could scale this to a company that has careers, that develops leaders and develops people. And I took the latter, obviously, just because I love growth. Just if you don't know me, that's a big value of mine. So I remember bringing on an employee, and we started to implement some structures and some systems. And this employee was Lorene, so if you're watching, shout out to you. And once we started to do that, what I realized was that everyone else had resistance to it. And I'm bringing up the story because I think it's a very important part to anyone starting a business. Your business has to change and evolve, and you have to know that for you to get to the next level, the people who are used to you doing it a certain way might not like the way you do it a new way. It's just like developing as a person. If you want to develop as a person, you might have those remember when friends. And those remember when friends are going to be the ones that say, hey, do you remember when we did this? Or remember when you were like that? You were better when you were this way. You got to move on from those people. If you are committed to the way you want to go and the way you want to grow, those people are just going to hold you back. Same things in a company, in reality. So we started to implement some structure. A lot of the people started to resist it. Now, there was a divide. Some of those people had to go if they didn't align, and that's okay because that happens. And some of those people stayed and learned. Now, that's okay. It's going to be a part of it. When this first initial step, my first 3 people actually ended up leaving. Not right away, but if they didn't understand where this company was going and they wanted to be the way we were, they weren't going to be on the team. Because that's what it takes to be a leader. It's not easy. It's not glamorous. It's fucking work. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's hard. But if you want to build something, you have to make sure that it's very crystal clear to everyone that this is what can happen and will happen. Now, that's one story of mine from, the little corner of an office to our own facility, what happened. This happened and is still happening to today. And that's because I'm committed to growing as a leader. I'm committed to growing my company. And what I'm realizing is the people on board with me, I've had one of my employees and she really runs the company. Maria has been with me forever. She's on board. She's all in. She wants to grow. She wants to develop. That value is tremendous. Just know that there's people out there who say like, okay, we can go this way. It doesn't mean that people should be coming to you just giving you a yes man, because that's not good either. As a leader, you need to get feedback. You need to hear things. You need to understand things. But you need to have people who are all in. And then once you guys make a decision, collectively, you have that united front to everyone else. Because if you don't, that can create another divide. But I could talk about that all day. If you guys have a bigger company, give us a comment, because I would love to talk about that too. We'll talk about the basics of leadership here. So that was my first level story, right? Of when I had a couple hires, they all left, and then we had a couple more, and then some more left, and then we changed and we evolved to the point where we are now. And what I'm doing now is a lot different. I brought on a coach, Bedros Keuilian, who's like a big time coach in business. He's helped me see a different way to run my business. I brought on an EOS implementer. And EOS, if you guys don't know, I'll dive into it specifically, is a system to run your business. It's called Entrepreneur Operating System. And it really cut a lot of the bullshit out of things that don't work. And this works. And I do want to dive into that because I want to talk about how that evolved me as a leader and how I think it's important for other people to see that side of things too. So I brought on a coach, brought on an implementer, and I'm consistently learning and evolving who I am as a person. Now, when you start to do that, you start to shake trees, you start to build a foundation, you start to rebuild a foundation. So you sometimes have to eat shit for a while until you can rebuild. And that's your job as a leader, to make sure that you're okay with that. You have to be, because if you're not, no one else is going to do the work for you. Just understand that. One key thing I wanted to talk about, as a leader and developing leader, along the way, you're always going to have resistance. It's very common. Your people are going to resist it. I see it all the time. Every time I make a change, there is some resistance there. Resistance is not always bad until the point where it gets built up into resentment. If you have someone on your team who's resisting you and defensive enough to the point where they resent you, and you're the leader, you have to make a call and you have to walk that person off the bus. As sucky as it may seem, it has to happen. Your goal as the leader is to be driven by the mission. You're focused on the mission of what you want to do. Nothing else is in your way. You are mission driven. And if you care about your people, if you're not mission driven, how are they going to get to the heights that they need to get to? That's the way you have to think about it. Personalities aside, you have to be mission driven. So let's talk a little bit about EOS and how that has shaped me as a leader. One thing I noticed, and I think it's an important lesson for leadership too, is to make sure you have a system in your business that is simplistic, very, very easy to learn, and followed by everyone. If you overcomplicate things, there's going to be a lot of strife, a lot of confusion, not enough clarity, and a lot of uncertainty. Bring it down to the basics. Create a system that's simple, easy to follow, easy to understand. EOS has helped my company do that because now on a weekly basis, we check in and we say, hey, what's our system going on? What do we need to do? What do we need to work on? What are some issues we're working through? And then also with a system like this, and you don't have to use a system. I know I'm talking about it just because it's on my mind, but there's a layer of accountability across the board that has to be upheld. Now, it's funny because accountability is not sexy, right? But it's in the reality, if you own a business, a small service-based business, you got to be accountable. And it's your job as a leader to make sure people are holding up to their end of the bargain. If they're not accountable, what are they doing every day? And then how are you, they're not developing. It's your job to develop them. If they're not being accountable to development, what are you doing? So these are some basic level ways to really evolve into leadership. Now, I wish I knew a while ago, and if anyone's out there who's like me, that the way you communicate is very important, and how you say things and how you structure things. Because for the longest time, like I always thought that people thought the way I did, and that's not true at all. So learn how to know how people think, how they see the world, and then deliver a message that fits the way they see things. And yes, that's the hard part. That's the hard part about leadership, learning people and learning how to deliver the message. But if you're not continuing to grow in your leadership, people will lose respect for you. It's going to happen. And the company will get hurt because of it. So you as the leader in any company, you don't have to be the owner. You could be a leader. If you're not developing yourself, how can you expect people below you to develop? So keep pushing forward, develop, learn every day, and continue to grow. So if you got any value from this, please like, follow, share. Thank you for watching.